guess we'll start off, obviously, decision to end coaching the national team after 6 years in charge. You must have some fond memories of those 6 years.
Look, yeah, we've had a great kind of 6 years at it. You know, I can remember as clear as day, the very first day we got together in the Public Hall, it was in 2019, with a kind of group of players. And it seems so far away, and yet it doesn't. You know, it only seems like yesterday because it's right fresh in my mind. You know, and look, we set out on the journey, which has brought us to, you know, the small countries being postponed because of COVID, and you know, getting through all that, and that, you know, came through then in 21, moving on. So look, I'm realistic to know you can never be in the job for as long as you want to be in it, or you know, there's a time span, a lifespan, and everything. So it's been a privilege to be the head coach of our senior men's team, as well as being a player years ago, you know, and being captain, you know, come full circle. Yeah, it's been great. A lot of great memories.
You mentioned being captain there, and I was interested to ask how the experience of the Promotions Cup against the small countries in 2021, what were the feelings like for both of those?
Yeah, look, it was great to see the poster outside, you know, then and now, you know. So look, yeah, that was obviously a major highlight. And I think we got a great response from the players at the very start in terms of people wanting to be involved. We tried to run it as professionally as we can to raise the level and run it so players would want to be part, you know, of the group and the system and play for their country, because there have been a few low years there. So I mean, that was great. And yeah, going 5-0 in the small countries, it was a pity. It was just at the end of COVID, so there was no crowds. So that was a bit weird, having no spectators in the gym.
Lifted a trophy
at that time. But great experience, great group of guys we had, and then that set the platform for moving on, you know, for the last few years.
Yeah, I was going to say that obviously, you know, stepping back into European Championship qualifiers and then subsequently World Cup qualifiers as well for yourself and for the staff, that must have been a really great challenge to embrace.
Yeah, it was, to move it on to another level, or back to a level that we did play at back in the day. You know, we were playing in that European B division back in the day. So look, it was great to get the team back up there, and like we accounted pretty well. I think we accounted ourselves pretty well. We came up obviously against some really tough opposition, especially Croatia. I mean, those 2 games against Croatia, especially the one out there, you know, and Croatia should never be at that level. You know, they're in the top tier, they should be. But look, that's the luck of the draw, you know, and the pool you get. But it was great to have them lost out there, to bounce immediately back and get the win, a great win in Luxembourg. And then when Croatia came here, I thought we played them well for 3/4 of the game. You know, we were in the game and just got away from us in the last kind of quarter. But then we bounced back again, you know, to beat Luxembourg, which was, yeah, super, going 2-2 then at that phase of it. So, yeah, lots of big games. We've seen Switzerland, I don't know how many times.
They're not very Swiss citizen nearly at this point.
They have to be a target for us, you know, to get closer to them and get to that level. So I put Switzerland in with kind of Austria, Denmark, you know, Holland, Belgium, those kind of slightly below the tier A. But that has to be the target, I think. And like, Switzerland are getting better as well. You know, I thought our last game against them, just in February over there, they've added a few pieces to their team that has, I think, elevated them to another level as well. So look, our team has to keep evolving as it goes forward.
You mentioned some of the great wins there, obviously Cyprus, Luxembourg, and then Kosovo and Azerbaijan most recently. people obviously don't see after the game behind the scenes, but those moments with the players, traveling back on the bus and just afterwards that team bond, those must be really special memories too.
Absolutely, yeah. And you were there for some of the sing songs.
Yeah.
So, great feeling. It's one thing, myself and, Adrian, Puff and Mike, we've always had the thing of that it has to be a good spirit within the group. We're never going to bring anybody into it that was going to disrupt or be negative or, I thought over all our trips now, I know when guys get to say their piece somewhere when it's anonymous, guys will, might say they were totally happy, but when we were in it, and on those trips and away together, there seemed to be, and you were there yourself, it seems to be a great unity, with the guys, they always pull for each other. Look, I want to say a big thanks to Puff, Adrian and Mike. They put in a lot of work, and we've great fun doing it. Like it was hard because when you go into these windows, games where you're playing in November, February, and it's a break up of your season. I think we probably need another year or two of that to figure out what's the best way to, because it's very hard to prepare the team. We've tried to come together on the Monday after guys have played on Saturday and Sunday, get to wherever we need to go on the Monday so we can try and settle in. Now I think playing the 2 home games here last November, that was a dream, obviously, because we were like back into the bubble in the COVID time, in the hotel together from the Monday, not having to fly anywhere, and I think that showed in our playing and our result, 2 results here. So that was a special weekend or week, let's say, playing Thursday, and I think the Thursday was probably some of the best basketball we played as a group.
And then being in front of the crowd for those games as well, so that obviously really makes a big difference as well.
Yeah, great crowd. The crowd get behind the team. It's fantastic to hear the roaring out there. When the team is being cheered on. So fair play, and it's great. Thanks to all the support, everybody who supported the team. Who came out. And I know that Thursday game was an early tip off, but still people got here and created a great atmosphere. Big thanks, and a big thanks to the people that chipped in and sponsored us when we needed to get some preparation games. Remember that, the Cleveland group were super that time.
You spoke about the group you had for the small countries win, and obviously the group that you had last February was very different. But the way you brought players through, and the players that have come through during your time, must be something you're happy with.
Yeah, because I'd say from the start, there's probably a core of 6 players that have been constant, and then some other guys that retired or got out of it, and the younger guys obviously coming in. You have to keep that, it's exciting because there's 2 more coming out of college this year that are going to add greatly to us, who have played for us already, in the small countries and in some of the friendlies along the way. And in the summer series, so Sam played the summer series. So you have to keep adding pieces, and the team's evolving all the time. But there's been a steady core of guys that have been great for the team. The Sean and Jordan, John Carroll got down, came back in. Kyle was there, came back in. Adrian O'Sullivan, Connor Quinn have been there for, Lorcan. Go back, but I think, Lorcan and Neil, Lorcan, Murphy, Neil Randolph, and then stepping away last year. It's just, constantly evolving.
What were some of those conversations like when you ring up Kyle and say, look, I think I need you to come back, or say with John and say there's some interesting conversations?
Yeah, well, John reached out to me because I thought he retired prematurely, but anyway, he had to make that decision, and then he wanted to come back, so obviously, absolutely, open arms, come back into the fray, and obviously we had to reach out to Kyle, because position-wise, we wanted another true point guard in the squad, so he was, I think he might have been expecting the call. I don't know. He answered yes very quickly.
Well, look, you're going to be looking on, I guess, from further afield now for the senior men's team in Irish basketball. What are your hopes? You mentioned keeping on par with Switzerland. That's the level we need to get to. That's what you want to see going forward, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, keep adding pieces to it that will strengthen the squad and the depth of the squad. Because you have to be really going to have 10, 12 that can play and not rotate and have any dips. So we need. I know some of the pieces that are coming are going to be add greatly to that. So yeah, looking forward to seeing. Like, there are a few things that were in our minds that when we looked at Switzerland and we looked at their strength and conditioning going with them, we have to add pieces to our, I think, staff going forward as well to bring it, move it on, and just get it that bit more professional.
Well, look, I think from everyone in basketball Ireland and the Irish basketball community, thanks very much for the last 6 years and best of luck with whatever comes in the future.
Okay, thanks, Robbie.